And hello, another Email and Coffee with Joy Brooks. Today I'm speaking with Shannon Joy Mekeel, who is forcing the joy, the coy on me. And it's an interesting concept. Forcing, no, talking about it. In any case, Shannon, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Joy. And I look forward to that project immensely. This is what happens when you get two marketers in the room that have been struggling with email blasts their entire career and they just want to do something else. But no, I've started my career off in the Air Force. I did 8 years as a logistics troop, and I I couldn't be happy just kicking boxes. So I was consistently trying to help processes in the workforce, writing training manuals, and back in those days it looked much more cryptic than it does now. But a lot of throwing binders and just trying to help people like be more efficient because I hate inefficiency. It's like my pet peeve. Um, and also we got to treat people right, right? So morale and welfare is what I specialized in when I was young. And then I got out and became a mother and spent a few years doing some random sales and just the things you do when you have to scramble together and hustle and make a living. And lived in Washington State and then got my marketing degree. I became a University of Phoenix, rising from the ashes. That's what they say. I love that whole marketing campaign. It really supports my heart and what I stand for as well. So, um, yeah, I moved to Florida in 2005 with my husband and three boys. Started an advertising career, and I've spent the last 14 years in publishing, advertising, and marketing. Most recently, I was a marketing director for an organization in Central Florida, and was the marketing director and was really in charge of communications from clients who were investors and also their residents who were their customers. So I was in charge of all that communication. I saw where everything was broken. I consistently was, giving advice and giving tools for my leadership to try to implement. And sometimes they accepted it to their credit, and sometimes they decided it was too expensive to their demise. So I quit my corporate job on May 2nd. My husband was diagnosed with prostate cancer last December, and we've been kind of navigating what that looks like for us and for what that was for him. He was a very manly man, and I centered my life around him for the last 10 years. And then he had no testosterone because testosterone feeds hormonal cancers. So he's been on androgen deprivation therapy for going on 8 months now. And so I've been navigating that and trying to find support and just different resources for me, because he had tons of resources. He had counseling and social workers and lots of really good medicine and lots of really good medication. And, the nurses are all about him and they're really treating him. But meanwhile, I'm over here in the corner, literally crying. So we can laugh about it now, but man, it's been a tough go of it. And so my only resource I could find, the Facebook group, was no help. I was trying to bare my heart to these women, and they're all pissed off and scared too. So it was just a real challenge. So I remembered, since I've been 15, I've been a journalist. That's what I always wanted to be when I grew up. So I just put my pen to paper, or if it will, hands to keyboard, and started journaling and creating a Google Doc that was just this living document that allowed me to vent and share my heart, and then also share it with my husband. And then if I was absent, he had the opportunity and the motivation to read it. So I spent the last, from April through June, doing a lot of traveling, trying to give him the space he needed to be self-sufficient, marinate in his own grief, marinate in the things he had to deal with, and not have the frustration of me trying to communicate with him, which was a block and it was a challenge. So I was on the road a lot. I was visiting friends. I wrote a book called, I wrote 30,000 words in 30 days. And the goal was to just get the thoughts out there and share it with my husband, but it's just morphed into something more important. So I have a lot of things I wanted to share with people, and I think that's going to help folks. So finished my book, naively thinking it was done. It was just thought stream. And so now I'm going back and I'm editing that, and I hope to have it out by Halloween. So I'm going to do a brewery book tour and hit up the Florida area where I live now, in the Tampa Bay region. And then also I'm going to go home. I'm from a little rural town in Colorado called Craig, Colorado. So I'm going to go there because a lot of the topic matter is relative to what they've been through in that society in that town. And I just feel like it's a good place to spread my message because that's where it came from. And I want to help those people too. And so started a business called SJM Consulting Services. And my goal is to diagnose and treat broken businesses. And so that's what I'm doing now. And I'm just doing a lot of networking, and that's how we met. But yeah, I'm excited about everything that's going on. At Sidebar, I also have a relatively similar project that I'm working on. My book kind of preludes to it, but I'm actually one of those trips that I mentioned earlier was me going back to Colorado and interviewing my family, mostly my uncle, who's 83 and has a photographic memory, and he's the last remaining storyteller of our family. So I have 100 years worth of family history that just comes alive when he says it, and I've got so many photos and B-reel, and I'm just putting that together for the spring project. So lots of love projects, lots of exciting things happening, but yeah, sorry, that was long.
That was great. So, one of the things I want to talk about is this book that's coming out in October-ish. So you said it was, 30,000 words in 30 days? Is that the way it started? And is that the book? Tell us a little bit about that.
So I was challenged by communicating with my husband, and I was like, I don't know why, but I need to get the hell out of here. So I packed my bags and I'd run off to Panama City, and then I'd get home, and as soon as my bags were, like, my laundry was done, I wanted to pack them again and leave because I just couldn't communicate with him. And I love the man, but it was just too much of a challenge, and we would fight. So I'd head off to go visit people up north and in the east part of Florida, and just had a lot of opportunities. And during most of it, I was still working. I was still had my corporate job, but I was able to balance those things with a little bit of PTO I would take, here or there, and also work from home. I've been working from home since the winter of 2019. My son had to have a open heart surgery. He was 15 when we discovered it, and so I went home with him prior to the pandemic, kind of kicking in. So that was a really big challenge for us. My 15-year-old was seemingly perfect and healthy and running up and down the soccer fields, and then he passed out one day at camp, and they said he's going to need open heart surgery within the next 6 months. So we scheduled that, got over that hump, and then the pandemic hit. Poor kid was back to school, I think, for 3 weeks. So, and then we moved, and I didn't have any friends. We moved in July of 2020 from a different community, and all we had was our family, and I built my life around, my two sons that had moved with us, and then my husband. And then he got sick, but not sick really, because he didn't need me to cook and clean. He was just crazy and just like insecure and whiny and clingy, and I'm like, that is not my husband. And and also I tried to help him, and he would push away, and he didn't want me to, I'm like, don't you love yourself? Like, I'm trying to give you vitamins and cook you healthy food. It was this ongoing, just everything I said was negative and under his breath. And it just was like, this is not you. And I know it's not you. And so I'm just going to leave.
Is this is all this kind of angst and storytelling, all this stuff? Is this part of the book?
It is, yes.
Cool.
So thank you for reeling me in there. But I take the writer or the reader along with me as like my companion. So, I've been in a couple writing clinics, and they say, well, there's in every good book, there is a challenge that has to be, that the heroine or the hero has to face, right? And so each chapter of my book is a chapter of my life where I have risen to an occasion, and I talk about what's happened, and I go back in time, of course, and there's those messages. But really, the mass project that is the challenge is writing the book. So it's kind of fun, and I use a lot of authorial interruption, a lot of references to my past. It's been a really fun project, and now I'm going back and then editing some of those thought streams and making them a little more solid. But yeah, it's probably about 55,000 words. And like I said, I just feel like my happy place is breweries. I think a lot of Americans can relate, especially like through the pandemic, when you could actually go outside and have a beer, and there wasn't kitchens that were, an issue. So we could actually go to breweries through the pandemic. So those just became really solidified as my favorite places to hang out with my husband and my friends. So I'm going to do a brewery book tour. I had a guy suggest it. I was like, that's a
That's a
fantastic
great
idea.
idea.
Yeah.
You mentioned cancer, and I don't know if I shared with you the fact that my husband had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, obviously everybody's different, but men are particularly in a situation, in a way, where when they get sick, there are a few things that men turn into. Usually baby boys.
Yeah.
I don't feel well.
Yeah.
And here we are. Okay, you want some soup? I need soup, hot soup.
Yeah.
I'm on the couch. Oh, could you get me water? And you take care of them. That's the cold. Then when something like testicular cancer hits, prostate cancer, testicular cancer, my husband had lung cancer, that's a whole different thing.
It is. And that's
a whole different thing.
That's what was so challenging, because people understand, they see TV shows. We all have seen TV shows. We all have experienced this with loved ones that, there's breast cancer and you have to have a mastectomy, and we know what that looks like. And then there's, I have
women
chemotherapy.
Are different than men.
Somebody might have chemotherapy and they're throwing up. We know what that looks like. You have to be that person that brings the soup. And, people in the medical profession talked about the wives of the people with cancer as their caregivers. And I was like, I'm not his caregiver. He's still able to work from home. He's able to make his own food. He's able to do his own laundry. Sure, he's a little more tired, but he's fine. It's a mental thing. And, you forget how important hormones are. Like, hormones, even just a little bit offset, can really affect a person's mood. And thankfully, as a female, I've never had a lot of PMS. I mean, a little, right? A little bitchiness a couple of days a week.
Wait till you go through menopause.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it.
Make a date for that.
I'm not doing it. I'm going to get the patches like Suzanne Summers. I'm not doing that bullshit. I'm not doing it. It's too scary. But anyway, yeah,
I can only tell you one thing. I'll probably be the only one to tell you that. It's glorious on the other side.
Thank you for that.
It's glorious.
Thank you for that. That's wonderful. I'm happy. At least we go through it for a reason, right? So anyway, yeah, it's just been, the hormonal thing is really difficult, and there's no support groups for it. And so, as a marketer, we try to find niches. And when I discovered that there was a niche in the market, because there's no support groups, there's no books about it, there's no blogs about it, you email androgen deprivation therapy, you Google androgen deprivation therapy, and it's like all this clinical stuff. There was a study done in 2005 that I discovered that studied caregivers again, wives and spouses of men that were in androgen deprivation therapy. And that was from 2005. And it had some information. It was very clinical. It was not what I was looking for. So part of my book promotion is shannonjoymekeel.com, which is going to be live in the next week or two. I'm so excited. And there will be my blog posts, because that's the forum that I want to share those with, because just by themselves, my blog posts seem very callous and bitchy, but I'm just trying to be real. Like, yeah. I know I can help people. And so read my book. If you know somebody that's going through this, share it with them. Send them a link to shannonjoymekeel.com, and let's start a forum with these women. And these also, we forget that men and men are married, women and men. We don't want to isolate people, or just, partners. I was with my husband for 8 years, and I considered myself like his woman, but we weren't married. So I don't want to say spouses. I want to say intimate partners of those with that have prostate cancer and being treated with androgen deprivation therapy. And you can't say ADT, because that acronym is just not for that. So I don't acronym. Acronyms are just, I was in the military too long, and they're just stupid. They alienate people. They just alienate people.
Yeah, so. Especially if you talk to an IT person who's all full of acronyms. That's all they talk about.
Oy.
But still, along the lines of the caregiver, there's no instructions, and you go through. There they are, sitting on the couch. Maybe they've just come home from therapy, and they're tired. And you're like, "Do you want something to eat?" And they're like, "No, I don't know." And you're like, "Well, how about something to drink?" Okay. Well, you want coffee? No, I don't want any coffee. And you're like, well, you say to yourself, I'm effing useless here.
Mm-hmm. I felt
and
that.
And you're not making me feel any.
And no, they can't. They can't
They
add to your cup.
can't.
They're empty. They can't add
They
to your cup.
can't. And so you've just literally, you've really, you've got to slap yourself silly and say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is not about me. This is about him.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see what we could do. And there are times where I walked away and
Yeah.
I walked away like this, loser,
I
right?
know. And you feel like the biggest,
And I'm like,
meanest
oh boy.
woman.
Yeah, I'm like, boy, was that bitchy or what? But here I am trying to do something for him, and all he could do was, nah.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the meantime, he went to work every day,
Mm.
right?
He
For
rallied for work.
2 hours.
That used to piss me off, Joy.
Every
Oh.
every day he would go to work, and
Put on a
you
happy
know,
face for them.
he exactly. He took care. What he was doing was, he knew he needed to take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
He also didn't want to sit around and think about himself. So he's
Yeah.
going to work to make
They
sure
love to work. Men have to work. It's their identity.
that's right. So he had an identity of this is what I do. Joy, I'm a professional driver. Okay, honey, good for you. So he went to work.
Even though I have cancer, I'm still that.
Yes, he he needed to know he was taking care of me, and everything else was and he took care of himself as much as he could, and there's no instructions, and there are times when you say stuff and he says stuff that are irreprehensible.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take them back.
Mm-hmm.
Once you say them, they're said, but you have to forgive each other.
Oh, I mean,
How
it's
many
just
times
been
my
insane,
husband
Joy.
said to me, I am so sorry to do this to you. I'm so sorry. You should have never married me. You should have married someone else. You probably would have been happier. And he probably, would be able to live longer with you and blah, blah, blah. And I turned around and I said, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, that was not the right thing.
I know. I tell him, shut your mouth all the time. Just be quiet.
So,
Not adding anything to the conversation that needs to be
so
said.
it's like very difficult. There were times when I said, no, sweetheart, and he's like, I know you don't love me. I'm like, oh my God, of course I love you. Well, you don't. I'm like, oh, everything gets very confused. It
Well,
is not easy for any woman and any man going through this. It is not easy. Do the very best you can. Don't think that you're doing anything wrong. There is no right way. It's out of your heart, but just make sure you stick with your heart. Realize, stick with your heart.
Joy, it has been so challenging because I've really tried to do that and walk a path of integrity and as much love and as much compassion as I could. But then there's people on the outside, namely my husband's family, his siblings, that are watching me like a hawk, going, she's a bad wife. She's traveling. She's a bad wife. She's not there for him. I'm calling him and he sounds depressed. She's not there.
Yeah.
And so I become this monster. I befriended all of them on Facebook. I could not be under their microscope anymore.
They have no idea what it's like when
they don't.
When they go through it, they'll come back and apologize to you.
Well, I hope they never have to, right?
Of course. You don't want to wish that on anyone. And,
it's been tough. It's been tough. But you know what? We still have a year to go. We actually are going on a cruise because a part of my ultimatum, the first trip that I went on to Panama, well, I guess my second trip to Panama City. Okay, but the big one where we got in this huge fight. I took all of my luggage. I packed 3 huge bags for like would have been 3 or 4 days, and I was like, I don't know.
Panama City, Florida. Panama City, Florida.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm like, you went to Panama City, Panama.
Well, I actually was TDY there in the Air Force, but and I've been there and I've done the whole Panama Canal. It's amazing. You should definitely go. However, I lived in Panama City for most of my 30s and had a great tribe of women there. And they helped me raise my boys when we moved from Washington State. The kids were very young, so I had a lot of friends there. And so it's like, in a lot of ways, it's like coming home. And if I ever decided to move, it probably would be back to Panama City. But they've had a lot of challenges in that community. Hurricane Michael just ripped the community apart financially. It's been tough for them to recover, and then COVID hit. So there's a lot of innovative entrepreneurs that I was interviewing at the time because I was a lifestyle editor, and a lot of them are in leadership roles now. So I'm really excited to see that.
See, what you did was when he got sick and you tried and you couldn't,
I said,
you
bye-bye.
threw yourself into work. You threw yourself into work.
I did.
Right? I'll tell you, when my husband passed away, it was a Wednesday, and on Fridays I was running a mastermind, and it was every other Friday. So Friday was the mastermind. I didn't cancel it.
Yeah.
I didn't cancel it. I went to the mastermind, and I said, I just want let everybody know that my husband passed away from cancer on Wednesday, and they literally all were like this.
They started crying. Yeah, this just breaks my heart.
I'm not crying, and they're like, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, "Because this is the way I do it."
You're hanging by a thread, and that thread is work.
My reality hasn't died. My reality hasn't died.
Yeah.
And for me to move forward is I need to hold on to that reality.
My reality
I did not need to shrink into myself and wallow in the grief. The point is, when you're dealing with someone with cancer, it unfortunately, and this is not to freak you out, Shannon, but you get to a point when everyone knows, okay, this is point of no return, right? There is nothing that's going to help this person. This is where you're at.
Wow.
And when you get to that point, that is when you begin to grieve. And that was a year of grieving for me.
Wow.
Because
well, thankfully,
he said to me, I'm not going to be here in a year. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, he goes, I'm dying. So that was his decision, whether or not he knew something I didn't know, because within a year he was dead.
Wow.
Whether, I don't know if he wished it on himself or he caused it.
He knew.
Or if he knew.
He knew.
Right? Whatever it was, that full year, I had to deal with it. So by the time it was over, I had been grieving for a year. And now it was the next phase of grieving, which was get a grip on what you have left, not what you've lost.
Yeah.
You know what you've lost. You've been dealing with that loss for a year. So it's very, the Grim Reaper is not as grim as it is the ultimate journey. And again, through writing, you did writing, I did writing, I did lots of journaling and writing. I was able to put the love back together again. Right? And make it crystal clear to me, okay, you did some bad things, but they weren't on purpose. And he did some things that he shouldn't have done, and they weren't on purpose. There's no instructions here. What do you do?
Well,
you make mistakes. That's what you do.
Your story is so beautiful, and it's so every person, and I feel like that's why I felt obligated to put this down, because there's so many things that are relative to people that haven't dealt with prostate cancer.
That's right.
But they're just dealing with hard stuff. And, when you have a cancer diagnosis specifically, it's a waiting game, and it's a medical practicing situation. You don't know what's going to happen. And so it forces you to grow, and it forces you as a couple to say those hard things, but also come back together. So I couldn't find another resource, so I created one. And, you were talking about instruction manual. Because I've spent my entire life as the oldest child, in every job I've ever had, I've been fixing things. I've been reorganizing structured plans and processes. And so I gave him an ultimatum, Joy. I had 15 things on that list. I was like, here's the thing. I'm not coming home until you put some of these things in motion, and I see you 20 to change. And that's why I want to blog post so heavily, because I want to expound on some of those things that we found that were helpful, that we found that we really needed in our relationship. And as I was alluding to before, one of the things that was so important to us was to finally go on a damn vacation. So tomorrow's my birthday. Um, and then we leave on a 6-day Bahama cruise on Sunday, and we'll be gone for 6 days. And I'm okay with that because I haven't had a 7-day vacation for 18 years. I've
I
gone
hear
home.
that.
I've gone to visit Colorado. I've gone to visit Illinois. I've had people come here to visit me. But, and then we got married. We had the 2021, 5 of us on the beach because it was COVID. And then we had the celebration of love up in the mountains. And I was gone for 5 days from work on that. But the thing about that is it wasn't a vacation. We didn't get a not stress, right? That's what vacations are. So we got a not stress for 6 days. And I'm stopped.
That's going to be great, Shannon. It's going to be great.
Yeah, we deserve it. There's this, we talk about this in our networking group that we met on. There's the scarcity mindset where you just are holding on to your money and you're not spending it on the things you want to spend it on. And you're holding on for dear life because if you leave your job for more than a few days, you come back to this mountain of work. Well, figure it out. Delegate your stuff or leave that company. If you can't figure it out and have some peace and tranquility while you're on vacation, you
Yeah.
worked hard to earn those days. You need to enjoy them. And that's really, it's this whole thing. That's what I'm doing with my company. I'm trying to create companies that are more self-aware, that treat their people better because it matters. These things, this is like a problem. The Society of Human Resource Managers in 2019 did this huge, biggest survey of its kind that's ever been done, evaluating workplace culture. And they found in 2019 that 49% of companies are considered bad places to work. So if we had that problem in 2019, what's happened since then? Hello, a freaking global pandemic. So are we better or worse? And there's not going to be another one of those. Oh, we are. There's not going to be another one of those for another 5 years at least. But I want to impact as many companies as possible. And so that's why I have a 2-week turnaround. SJM is just go in, figure it out. Here's the tools. If you need a little hand holding, that's fine. But we can't wait for these changes to happen. People are losing their ever-loving mind.
Yeah. No, there's so much drama going on that is self-created, self-propelled.
Yeah.
And it's because many people don't have the wherewithal to figure it out for themselves. So they create stuff around them. Oh, I'm not feeling right. So I'll create a whole story around that. And then I'll begin to react to it, and then it will snowball and go crazy instead of something's not right, and having the wherewithal to fix it, and either and some of the amount of courage to walk when you have to walk away from it. The fact that you packed your bags and left your husband was not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
Okay. What you needed to do was you needed to create some space so that he could figure it out, you could figure it out, and instead of creating a more and more toxic relationship together, say, you could take care of yourself. This is not like, you're on the floor and you can't get up.
Exactly.
And if you are on the floor and you can't get up, you call me and I'll be there.
Exactly.
Right. So, and every couple, everybody's different. I say no one should judge anyone else. So the fact that your family began to judge you, they instead should have just been there for your husband and forgot about what you should or shouldn't be doing, what they should be doing. Period. The end. Everybody really needs to take a deep dive into themselves, but cut through the BS. Cut through the drama, cut through, oh, woe is me. I say to myself, okay, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes. Oh, woe is me. And then that's it. I'm done. Let's move on. Because the, oh, woe is me is not solving the problem. No. Obviously, I'm feeling sad and I need to respect the sadness. But after the sadness is over, guess what? I'm still here. No one solved the problem.
Yep.
So
yeah, you got to deal with your stuff and you have to have the self-awareness to do that. And I think, the name of my book is You Have Arrived. and I'm designing the book cover right now. I'm so excited, but I figured out finally what it's about. So it took a cancer diagnosis to get back to a 40-hour work week. That is everything, right? Real talk about friends, family, work, and community. And then at the bottom, I say, welcome to my nervous breakdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
because you know what? We don't give ourselves the grace to have a slip.
Yes.
So you have this drama, you have this medication that people are taking, you have these well, murders and suicides. That's what it comes down to if you don't deal with it in a healthy manner and you diffuse that bond a little bit every day.
Right.
And I mean, I was getting to the point. I had a LinkedIn post that I put in preparation for today, and it's just silly. Like, I did this for 6 years. It was like this whiplash, week at a time, dealing with life, getting drunk on Friday nights, being exhausted and hungover on Saturdays, and then on Sunday, oh shit, I got to get groceries for the week and iron my clothes and get back out there because I got another week of hell. And that's no way to live.
No,
And this damn hamster wheel that we're on. And I just, I'm all about entrepreneurs. I'm all about small businesses. So this country was built on small businesses, and that's our economy. But you can't treat people like that. They're not robots.
Right. And the thing is, if you have a business and you have a mission, you have a passion, hopefully that is the culture. The culture isn't, oh, we're all young and everyone, likes to, eat pizza on Friday. That is not the culture.
No.
The culture is, this company has a product or service that I understand, I feel comfortable with from
Or maybe
Monday
even passionate
through Friday.
about. Yeah.
Right? And on occasion, I'm willing to stay late over, or I'm willing to, pick up the ball if somebody says, I can't do this. Can you? Yes, I can do this, because there's a bit of passion. But if it turns into, there's no other word, slavery.
Yeah.
Where, well, this is you work for me 40 hours, so this is my time, and you do what I tell you to do. That is not the mentality.
You hit the nail on the head. You really did. You hit the nail on the head.
And when that happens,
it's a problem.
The person becomes a slave.
Yeah.
To the dollar and to your whim. And it's just not healthy. And, I've been in situations before where I went in and there was passion, and then, the flame blew out, and then it was gruesome and it was intolerable. And what did I have to do? I learned time to leave.
In the last company,
change the company.
Yeah. And the last company I was with, you'd vacillate, right? Some days I would be super on fire and I was like, they're finally getting it. This is a company with people that care. They're doing the right thing. They're doing all the benefits for everyone. They're taking care of their residents who are their customers and doing right by them. And then every couple weeks, like, damn, no, they just taken 10 steps back in my head as far as this is a moral, correct, ethical, decent, principled place to work. And so then I'd get demoralized, and then I'd try to work myself through that and try to make excuses for them. And then, I'd be like, okay, that's okay. It's all right. And so then we'd be okay. And so for 6 years, I was the seesaw of, I hate this place. I'm okay with this place. Never loved it. But we should love where we work, right?
We should either love where we work or love the work enough, have passion for the work enough that we maintain that some amount of evenness, so that there are not horrible days and great days and everything should be. You know what? Today was a rough day. It was a lot of work. I had to be in early and I left late, but I got it done and I feel really good about it. That's the way it should be.
And you can be happy about your work and discouraged with your workload, but when you're demoralized by your bosses every day, that's an emotional thing, right?
Yes, right.
So when you say it's a horrible day, you got upset. That's a big adjective, Joy. Horrible.
I mean,
so I had emotion.
I had bosses. One of the last big companies that I worked for was purchased in a merger, and I'm not going to mention the name. And
You can though.
when they were
You can
purchasing
though.
when they were purchasing the merger, they went from being a very creative media company to being an asset
Mm-hmm.
in the portfolio. And as such, there were MBAs all over the place. So everybody who was coming in, masters of business from this school, from that school, and I was just Joy, hello.
Never mind that you just worked up the ranks and you've learned from the school of hard knocks and you know what the hell you're
Yeah,
doing.
I actually ended up becoming more technical as the time went on, and that was really the core and where I ended up going. However, marketing and tech being email marketing, but I was so demoralized by the business school attitude because at that time the game was divide and conquer,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they started playing with my head, and I didn't have my head screwed on to start with. So when they start playing with my head, I was like, they think I'm someone that I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know who I am, but I know I'm not that person.
Yeah.
Um, asking, basically asking me questions like, where you want to be in 5 years. And I said that I'd like to be more involved in the creative end of the business. And so they bypassed me for every single promotion because I said I want to be creative and there was no creative promotions. So I was like, what did I just do to myself?
Those self evaluations, man, you put that stuff on paper, it follows you.
Exactly. Exactly. Which is why I say to many people, when your boss asks you particular questions about people you work with, situations that you're in, don't be unfiltered and too giving in the answer. Really, he's not asking you to give you the answer.
Yeah,
He's pretending out of a script, out of a playbook, that he feels, oh, I'm so virtuous, I care so much, and he doesn't care.
exactly. They
He
have to
doesn't.
be able to walk the walk. They're good at talking the talk, aren't they?
There were no mentors. The
Yeah.
mentors were looking for other business people, strictly business people who played by the book, who were, looking to become supervisors, managers, directors, vice presidents, all those things. I didn't have that
So,
desire. I had no desire for a title at all.
would you consider yourself a cog in the wheel?
Oh, I definitely was stuck
So,
beneath
so
the
you're a
wheel.
cog and you were making that machine work. And the problem with, I mean, obviously there's a lot of people that get advanced degrees and that's fantastic. That's wonderful for them, but you better stay relevant, buddy. As you climb up that educational system, you better know how to do the things that Joy Brooks is doing because when Joy Brooks is out, when she's done, then who's going to do it for you?
Right.
Nobody. There's not
Yeah.
anybody to do it because
Well,
I
that is
found
the
that too.
thing. They
Yep.
they speak business speak,
Yep.
and they can put it all on paper and provide business plans, but they can't do the work.
Oh, isn't that fun?
They
Isn't
need
that
people to
fun?
do the work, and when they hire those people, they treat those people badly
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have people skills.
Yep. Oh man,
So
I've been there, done that.
that's where this
Preach it.
unhealthy relationship is stemming from. In many businesses, that's how they function.
Mm-hmm.
We called it the Peter principle, but I think they call it something else now, where you take somebody who's doing a good job and you promote them until you promote them into a situation where they can't do the work. They don't
Yeah.
have the skills,
Yeah.
And
Yep.
one thing I realized about myself, and it took a while for me, like 10 years, I really like doing exactly what I'm doing. I like HTML. I like talking with the
Yeah.
clients. I like getting their email together. I like talking about the analytics, and I like starting the cycle all over again. If you put me in a situation where all I am is the account manager and I get to get on the phone with the client, how are things? Everything good? What do you need? I'm no good. That's not what I want to do. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to be promoted I wanted to be recognized for the nuts and bolts gal that I am. There are a
Yeah.
lot of people like that. They
Hmm.
they don't know this because they think, oh, I'm supposed to be promoted, right? I'm supposed to become, regional manager. There are a lot of people that aren't recognized for being good workers
Hmm.
and given recognition for the particular job they're doing and making that particular job continue to make it exciting for them and to give them accolades, even though they're not quote unquote going anywhere. They love what they're doing. I
Yeah.
love to ride a horse.
Hmm.
No, I don't want to own a stable. I want to be on the horse.
Yeah. Well, and you talk about accolades and recognition. The best thing you can do to keep your employees happy is to pay them right, to pay them competitively, to make sure that they're doing okay and they can actually pay their mortgage and buy groceries for their family and maybe put a roof on their house every 20 years. Because I tell you, what these employers are willing to give those cogs that are doing the jobs is pitiful. And we need to get right with that. We need to get right with that as a society. The cost of living is outrageous. I mean, you know the statistics probably better than me. And pays are not keeping up. Like, we cannot afford, unless you've got side hustles, which are available. There's a lot of gigs you can do, but you shouldn't have to have 4 jobs. As a couple, you shouldn't have to have. You should be able to enjoy your damn life on the weekends and in the evenings. You work your butt off. You should be able to enjoy the fruits of your labors. We got to do better, and that's a politician issue. That's
Well, there's
serious
politics
things that
in
need to
business.
happen.
There's politics in business.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the things that needs to be done is that the business needs to be run. Gosh, the business. The, I once had a conversation with my cousin because I was I was being yelled at work every day, and
Yeah.
I was like, you know, this guy yells at me every day. It's like, Tuesday he'll tell me what not to do. Wednesday he'll tell me what to do, and Thursday he'll yell at me for both. And
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter what I do or what I don't do. This guy is just miserable. And my cousin essentially said, they can tell you to wear red on Tuesday, blue on Wednesday, and red, white, and blue on Thursday, and you've got to do it
Mm-hmm.
because those are the rules. And he goes, that's the way it is. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I get that. But, and there's no buts.
Yeah.
However,
You're right.
if they make you do these things, you've got to be at work at 9. Lunch is always at 12. Everybody breaks at the same, whatever the rules are, whatever those
Mm.
rules are, right? I get it. That's the way they're running the company. They have reasons to do that. And you don't necessarily need to know, well, what are their reasons? That's their decision. However, treat me well. That's all. Treat me
Mm-hmm.
well. Take some time if you've got an HR department or if you've got managers and things of that nature, supervisors. Make sure that there are persons in those roles that can manage people because you've got people who are doing processes and tasks, and then you've got people who are managing those people who are doing processes and tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got your higher ups who are just essentially making sure all the pieces are in place all the time. They don't do anything but play golf, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
And if you start messing with that, if you start hiring these auditors that audit things and not people persons, and if you
Mm-hmm.
hire your cousin's aunt's uncle to do the job because they're cute, whatever, you got a mess.
Yeah.
Got a mess. And that's, you know, the process has been to outsource the manual concept, the manual labor, because the manual labor overseas is cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got a bunch of managers, nobody doing anything and nobody knowing how it's done.
Woo.
And
Scary.
so that's not a way to manage stuff.
No.
If you can hire somebody in management that can deal culturally well with your global international workforce, okay, Okay. And if you've got
Good
people
luck.
somebody's in Atlanta, somebody's in Uzbekistan, somebody's in, Nigeria, they're all over the place. If you've got somebody who can pull that together, and you've got these individuals all responsible for their jobs. Now that's fine. Doesn't matter where they are or who they are. Doesn't matter. But the point is, merit. You've got to hire people who can do the work.
Exactly.
It's a
Exactly.
bit of a mess.
It's hard, it's hard. And you talked about human resources, and as I formulate my next stage in life, which is going to be going into companies and helping them, I look at human resources departments, and HR is human resources, but it also is a really good indicator of your heart rate in your company. And so if you've got a human resources director or a human resources manager and your company just has that person, those people are probably exhausted. So if you just have one of those people, and if you've got a pretty small company, that might work, but if it's over 50 or 100 people and you have one HR person, that person's probably working 80 hours a week. And then if you hire a recruiter, what that says about your heart rate.
That person needs an HR person to help them.
Yeah, they need an assistant or a receptionist or something. But if they have a HR manager and a recruiter, that's a red flag for me, buddy, because there's no company that's 100 to 2 to 300 that needs a recruiter unless you're experiencing exponential growth. The only people that really need recruiters are military, because every 4 years people can get out. But the thing about recruiters is, if you've got a full-time recruiter and a company of 120 people, it means that your culture is broken, and you're paying somebody to find more people to replace the people that just left. That's a problem.
Or replace the people that you're firing.
Exactly. They either fired or they quit. It doesn't matter. They still are gone. There's a reason they're gone. It's because your culture's broken. But if you hire an HR manager and then you have a chief people officer or a chief executive officer, guess what those people are doing? They're integrating like goodness into each of your employees, and then your employees are going to go out and they're going to say, this company is amazing. Please, my friend, I just had lunch with you, need to come apply for this position. And then guess what? You don't need a recruiter. And guess what? Your culture is fixed. So we've got this old school mentality of, oh, we need to hire more people. No, you don't need to hire more people. You have excellent people. Work with the people you have. And you know what? If you hire a chief people officer, the people that quit or were fired, they'll probably come back to you too, because they're tired of doing Uber. Because that's really what they're doing. They're doing this. They're fried. They're like, I'm not working for this grandpa company anymore. I need a new fresh start. So they open these online businesses and they're doing it, but it's exhausting. But if they can actually, like you said, have buy-in about what the product or service that company is offering, and they already have friends there, because in the trenches, you need your friends. If it's a shitty company, the people that you work with are your confidants and your friends. And if you have a chance to bring those good people back in, you don't need a recruiter. You need a chief people officer.
One of the things that I remember being said to me, you could be replaced. And I always thought to myself, no, the body in the chair can be replaced. I cannot be replaced.
Exactly.
So good luck finding someone to do the job, because I do the job well. You're treating me like shit, and therefore we have a problem. Yeah. But you're thinking I have an attitude. You're not thinking, where is that attitude coming from?
That's the problem.
Right?
Diagnose and treat that, baby.
Right. Because once you say she has an attitude, okay, let's just find out what it is. And let's be honest and think, could it possibly be the people around her? Could it possibly be the way I'm treating her? Could it possibly be the amount of work? What is the problem? Don't ask her yet. You think about it. You're the one who, you are the one who understands the business. No? Aren't you the one that, put the processes in place? Aren't you that person? You don't know the SOP? You don't have an SOP? No. You have a problem. That means you're allowing anyone you hire to set up your office or set processes or set rules and regulations. When I walk into companies and I'm like, well, do you have an SOP for this process or that? And they're like, I'm like, oh, my. And that's a problem.
Yeah. And that's what we do. We set up We set up processes that work to make a company stronger. And there's a lot of technology that is in all different kinds of industries, and a lot of really good smart people skills that that's part of my toolkit when I refer people. We've got to do better. We've got to see what's on the forefront of technology and workplace systems, and we've got to partner with the right people, because you'll save money, you'll grow, but if you can't do those things, your company needs to not be a company anymore.
Yeah. You want to, I remember at that same company, there was one woman that I looked up to. She was hard. But she recognized, she was a people person. She recognized skills. She recognized transferable skills. She would create projects based on merit, knowing, okay, Joy could do this. Okay, Joy, work with Margarita. The two of you will work well together, and that's required. That's the way it goes. And then I had, my boss, who was just the worst, who made me feel awful every day. And when I left the company, I took a huge sigh of relief. But had I been able to stay in that company, I would have been making a huge amount of money, because I had been in that company for 10 years and I put a lot of effort into it. But it was extreme burnout.
Yeah. I get that. It's burnout is a thing. We have to start addressing it. And I love everything you just said. I mean, having managers that actually know who the people are and know the processes and can put the people together to collaborate effectively, that just doesn't happen sometimes. And it's sad. It really is. And I mean, some companies are better at it than others. But when this is what I like to say, when your CEO is gone on Thursdays and Fridays all throughout the summer, and then they take a week off, in middle of July, and then they, take a week off in, middle of August, and then they go skiing in September. I mean, how can you manage a company when you're never there? These bosses don't have to have PTO. They own the company or whatever, right? They're partners. And they can just show up when they want to show up. But you can't manage a company that way, and you can't delegate that. And if you can't find somebody to delegate that to, it's very rare you can delegate that. But if you're going to manage a company, if you're going to be a CEO, show up to work.
If you're going
Put your heart into it.
You're going to be a silent absentee CEO, there's nothing wrong with that if you've hired the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, that's the process of the CEO. That's what they do. I have an idea, I have a product, I have a service, I have the money, or I know the people that can fund that's what that person does. Then they hire the next people. And those next people are integral to the business.
Mm-hmm.
If they hire the wrong people there, then everything starts to fall apart.
Oh, buddy, that is so true.
Right?
And cronyism, when you've got best friends of the CEO that are those managers,
right,
and then no one feels comfortable going to HR to report that person, even though they're taking all these liberties with all of these other employees, and they're treating those employees like crap because this upper manager doesn't know what to do, doesn't have those soft skills, or they're so exhausted and fried that they can't even function. That's what I ran into before. I was working with upper management that was just at their wits' end, and good people, that they were just fried. And a lot of property management companies are in the same boat. It's a tough business. And there's a lot of industries that are tough business. Medical, it's just the same. It's a lot of burnout, and it's hard. But yeah, we just got to do better. We just got to start having real conversations about this stuff, and we're doing that. So woohoo!
Right. Yeah, that thing is that it will never be perfect, but it is again, we need to be able to have some processes in place that attempt to correct and fix and manage. And you can't say, well, it won't be perfect, therefore we don't need anything. That's absurd, right? We have we need rules. I mean, I would love to live in a society that was just so fluid and everyone knew exactly what to do at the right time. I mean, that's a pipe dream. That's called utopia.
People are different.
Beautiful.
There's diversity in our world for a reason. It's to give us those challenges and let us rise to the occasion and let us communicate with one another and let us be better because of our differences, because we have that collaboration.
Right.
That
exactly.
that you can't, there's always going to be issues, but you just got to know how to handle them.
Right. I sing, you dance together. Maybe we could, do this together,
Yeah.
And if I say,
great.
well, you have a bad voice, you can't sing with me.
Yeah.
And you say, yeah, well, you don't know how to dance. You got two left feet. That's never going to solve any problems. When I realized, oh, we could do a song and dance thing where I can sing and she goes, wow, that would be great.
Oh, what a concept.
What a concept. And that's, I guess that's the concept of the glass is half empty, half full. And bringing that to such a level where we're dealing with projects now where, I need somebody that's technical. I need somebody that, that can work long hours. I need somebody that, whatever, programmer, whatever it is. I have a pet peeve going on right now where an organization I'm working with, the method of project management is texts. So the text will start and they won't end. They'll go on for the whole day. And that's how they're managing a project.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, the problem is there's some people in this group that don't even know how to text, but there's some people in this group that don't have computers. So if I were to say, let's get a sauna, let's get, Basecamp, let's get ourselves a project management tool and we can put the projects in there and everybody ought have a computer. Okay. So, there are some parts that are unsurmountable problems.
Yeah, I was in my last position as the marketing director, I was the only one that knew how to do Google Docs. I was the only one that knew how to do Dropbox. I was the only one that knew how to do any of our reputation software. I was the only one that knew how to do MailChimp. I was on an island. I was the only one. And, periodically throughout my duration there, I had help and I trained them, and it would take a year, to get them where they needed to go, and then they'd leave. And so I would start over with another person and I'd be alone again. And when you've got processes that no one else knows how to do, and you're alienating them to the point that they're the only person in the company that is a technological resource. Like, I'm an IT person. I'm a specialist in Google Docs or Dropbox. I just use it every day. But if they don't use those things and they're on their phone texting, they're afraid of different technology because that's what they're used to.
Right. It's also it's the lowest common denominator. So everybody's like, oh, well, we could text. Okay, that's great. Everybody knows how to text? Yes. Okay. And I'm like, oh, but now you've got this long conversation. And in the beginning, somebody asked, so who's going to be doing
Very
this?
Inefficient. Very
and then
inefficient.
You're like, all the way down. And now who's going to be doing that? Oh, I told you it was going to be, I'm like, I can't. And it's giving me a headache. And I'm trying to figure out a way to say the thing is, most of these, I'm trying to find a way of politically, again, it's politics, politically saying, can we do it a different way? Because texting's just not, it's not the best way to do it. All of these apps, Asana, Basecamp, they're all on the phone. So all I need to do is to have a conversation with one person and get them to understand what I'm proposing. And then, getting them to say, okay, I'm behind you. Let's see if we can roll this out. So, and that's, this is not a business that I'm having the problem with. This is actually a volunteer group, but there are businesses that are having the same issue where they're using the lowest common denominator. And for whatever reason, they can't solve the problem because perhaps the people that they've hired don't have the skills.
But they've been there for 20 years.
Yeah, they don't have the skills.
What does that look like?
I know. I mean, I getting another issue, getting somebody to send me a list to upload for email marketing, and they send me a list, and company, first name, last name, email address, whatever, and company, first name, last name is all the same thing. So they're putting
Oh gosh.
they're dropping it into the same. So I'm
Oh,
like, why would they think that that's a good thing to
because they
do?
don't know what they're doing,
And
Joy.
then
They don't know.
I look at it, and sometimes it's the company, and sometimes it is their first name. So now every time I get a spreadsheet, I have to go down the first and last names to make sure to get the company names out. And I'm like, how do I say nicely, thank you, doing, and not only that, but it's formatted, it's centered, it's fonted, it's like they're going crazy
Yeah.
with this list.
Oh
And I'm
yeah.
going to
They're
turn it
doing the best
into,
they can.
right, but I'm going to turn it into a unformatted CSV file and upload.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not
It
for
has to have different
presentation,
columns. Oh my
right?
Lord.
All I need is somebody that understands practicality of this of
Hmm.
the file, what it's getting applied to. So I was like, I've got to say this to this person,
Yeah,
and
you're
that's it.
beating my drum, girlfriend. You're beating my drum.
I said, I said very nicely. I said, first and last names are very important. If you don't have them, that's okay. Don't put something in there if you don't have them.
Or if it's incorrect.
Right. Um,
It's tough.
it's
It's tough.
difficult.
At the end of the day, as professionals that have been doing this kind of thing, and I think that marketers are very oftentimes the leadership within a company. And you've found that too. We interface with a lot of technology and a lot of helpful tools, and not just advertising and not just marketing, but it's an HR thing as well. So as marketers, that's kind of our job. And so for me, bringing that into full circle and going back and looking at what I was doing when I was in my 20s in the military, and I was doing the same things that I'm doing now, but I've just perfected them. I was a logistics troop, and I was trying to find the best, most efficient way to get parts to the flight line, and figuring out the software and trying to do training manuals for the people that would replace me. And I'm still doing that, and it's transferable to any industry. It's transferable to any size of a company. Um, Throughout the country, I would say it's and I probably throughout the world, because we're all in this global
Supply and
economy. We're
demand.
all
Yeah.
we're in this global economy. We're all just competing with one another. We're all using the same tools. We're using the best tools available to us in our language and making them work the best we can.
Right.
So it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to step back from it. And that's what I talk about in my book. Like, Curious George was written by two Jewish immigrants that lived in Paris. And then the World War II happened and they got ousted out of the city. The only thing they left with was their manuscript of Curious George. And it was the only thing that mattered to them. It was the only thing that was important, and it was what they built their legacy on. But they were two advertising executives without children that had a pet monkey. Actually, they had two pet monkeys. And then they're like, this is going to help people. And their passion, it was a side hustle. It was a project they were working on. They took some time away from their ad executive jobs, and they're like, we have some good brains in here. Let's work for ourselves. And they found a niche that was, guess what? Comforting children at a time of war, making them feel better about themselves, because the world is really scary right now. Let's give them a happy little monkey, at the end of the day they can read. And I mean, what a legacy. But I mean, that's what us marketers do. We are big thinkers. We care about people. We want to fill a niche because we know what people need. And
Right.
so it's been transformative and wonderful. But I just took a break from doing what other people needed me to do all day long. I call it whacking moles. Just trying to put out fires all day long and put some energy into what I knew I needed to put energy in. And the universe has been rewarding me ever since. So
And that really is the way it works. As I said, sometimes if you avoid all the drama and ask yourself the hard questions and
mm-hmm.
stare in the mirror and answer them and go, no, that's not the right answer. And then you're like, you say it and you're like, oh, that hurt.
Yeah.
That's the answer. So then that means, what am I going to do about it? Or, where am I going with this? And it's not easy, but once you begin to do that, suddenly like, oh, I don't need the drama. This is really
Yep.
easy. And I
Yep.
don't need to tell the world that I fucked up. I don't need to tell the world this. I need to know I did that. I don't like what I did. I've learned from it. I don't regret doing it. I wish I had known now what I, no, then, no, now what I know, whatever. You know, yeah,
I got you. I
you
got
got
you.
me. I mean, you just, I don't really like the word regret because I look at it very simply. We all make mistakes. When we make the mistake, again, in the mirror, you fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, did you mean to? Oh, yeah, you did. You were having a really bad day. You opened your mouth and anger came out. Okay, this is the process. Okay,
We're
so I
human.
said something angry. Okay, so I've got an anger management issue. And that's the issue. Sometimes you say to yourself, it's an anger management issue,
Yeah.
you know? And maybe that's the issue. Maybe that's where the drama is coming from. The drama may be your anger, and the fact that if you're a volcano, all you have to do is hit that button and you go ba-boom, and you got to deal with that. You can't go through life angry.
Well, and what got you to that point, right? Because you didn't come out of the womb with an anger management issue, right? You didn't. What got you to that point? Maybe some therapy would be good to see. Like
Exactly.
maybe you
Deal
could
with
work
it.
on that. Yeah.
Deal with it. Say, okay, I got angry. I said something I shouldn't have. It didn't feel good after I said it, and now I'm still thinking about it. So
Yeah.
what does that mean? I shouldn't do that again, but what's making me do that? Am I going to be able to diffuse it when it happens again? Do I
Mm-hmm.
need to get up and walk away? Yeah, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe I'll try that. And maybe, do I need help? Yeah. Maybe I need, but if you don't ask the hard questions and answer them to yourself, again, when you're ready, you can tell the world, but you don't have to tell the world. You don't have to tell the world.
You don't
I
have to.
have,
I'm
I
telling
have
the
bad
world.
habits. Like you
I'm
said,
telling the world.
you used to go to work, have drinks on Saturday, wake up Sunday, had all these errands, and got in, did it all over again, and you realize this isn't working,
Mm-hmm.
right? If
We're built for better than that.
right, some people would go the opposite route and start drinking on Monday
Mm-hmm.
and keep it going, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
point. You said to yourself, this is not working. What isn't working? And you started putting the if, ands, and
Yeah.
buts together, and you're like, I want to fix stuff, and I'm otherwise part of the problem, and I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
continue to be part of the problem. And that's all the time what I tell people when they start complaining about politics. I'm like, complaining about politics is part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
If you are so hell bent on doing something, then go volunteer,
Exactly.
go do
Help
it,
out.
help
Help
out.
out.
You're not going to
Protest.
fix the whole problem, but instead of sitting at home complaining that this one said this about that, and I hate that one and this one, and
Get
go
involved.
do something.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
And
this
then
whole
you're
this
no
whole
longer,
thing.
at least you're trying to solve a little problem.
Exactly.
You're not going to, you're not going to be a hero. You are your own hero, and
Yeah,
maybe
you are your
one
hero.
person is going to say, wow, I aspire to be that person.
Yeah, light a fire under somebody else.
Right.
It's a beautiful way to put it.
If I always say it's not what you say, but it's what you do. So if you say, I'm going to quit smoking tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes, okay, keep saying that because it's not going to work. But if you stop smoking tomorrow, people are going to say, oh, you're not smoking anymore. And you'd be like, yeah, I stopped last week. I stopped tomorrow. I stopped last week. And they're like,
It's a
oh,
beautiful
that's
thing.
great. You go. And, if you continue to do that, people will aspire. So it's what you do. And, it's difficult, but I'd say in many ways, everything everybody does is difficult.
Of
This is
course.
difficult. The moment you pop out of the womb, it's difficult. When you were in
It's
there,
difficult.
you were getting fed
Yeah.
every day. Somebody was walking you around the house. You never had to. You didn't need a car. You had it all.
Yeah.
And once you come out of that womb, everything is difficult, and
Yeah.
it just gets worse and worse. And you just need the tools to be able to say, I'm going to bounce off of that, and this is how I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to do it. And this sucks, and I don't like it, and so I'm going to fix it. And this
Yep.
one's not good for me. This person's not good for me. This job isn't making me healthy. This town is great. This town is not great. You've got to make all those hard decisions.
Exactly. It's called being an adult. You got to embrace it. And then when things happen, you need to embrace your nervous breakdown.
Yes, yes. There's nothing wrong with that.
I know. I know.
You
What
know,
I realized through that process is that my life was about more than just marketing analytic reports and sending emails out. I learned that I have a calling. I learned this word recently. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it. Shanaki. It's the Irish term for storyteller. And that is what I wanted it to be when I was 15 years old, Joy. And that's still who I am. And that's what I'm equipped to be. And I can use my marketing background to be a better Shanaki. It's about finding what you're meant to do on this earth and then doing that before you're so used up and dried out from all the other bullshit that you can't see straight.
yeah. In many instances, that's the first thing parents should be teaching the child.
Mm-hmm.
Not that, oh, you're going to be a swimmer because your father was a swimmer, or, you're going to be a doctor. You're going to be the first doctor in the family. You're going to go to college because I never went to college. All
Yeah.
of those things. I mean, there's no rule book for parents either, so it's not easy. But if a parent is able to recognize the strengths in their child and the weaknesses,
Yeah.
and to be able to help them through that gently, kindly, with loving care, then when it comes time for that child to become an adult, you've instilled the tools, the respect, the method, the process, so they can
Yeah.
figure shit out.
Yeah.
Because we all need to figure shit out every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. I moved away from home when I was 18 years old, and I don't feel like I was fully cooked at that point. I had a mom and a dad that co-parented me since I was 4. I had a sister that was 2 years and 9 months younger than me. I had other siblings from the subsequent relationships with my mother and my father. And I was kind of forgotten. My sister and I both were kind of just like, they're the older two, they'll be fine. Um, so when I was writing my book over the summer, chapter 1 is about my grandmother. And I didn't know anything. I thought I did, but I didn't know the things that I needed to know. So I ended up having to do a deeper dive into who I was and where I came from. And that is the actual thing that I can remember my grandfather Russ telling me, because he passed away when I was 9 years old. But I have very few memories of him because I was my grandmother's favorite. And so I sat on my grandmother's lap, and my sister sat on my grandfather's lap. And I remember him saying in his voice, never forget who you are and where you came from. And that has been a key in this process, in most of my processes. But if you forget that, then you are in trouble.
Yeah.
And so I was in trouble. And I asked my poor sick husband, I said, I need to go to Colorado. I need to figure out who the hell I am. And I spent 11 intensive days with my uncle, who was the dad I wished I would have had, because my uncle had a great family. He was respectful to his wife. There was never any fighting. They didn't get divorced. And they had 2 amazing sons and 2 amazing daughters. And they were all of one unit. And they were all amazing. And they were all great. And every time I rode my bike over there, Joy, those people treated me like I was their child. My uncle and my aunt, my parents did the best they could do. God bless them. But my uncle and aunt, those were the people that I relied on. So I went to Colorado and I interviewed them, and I got their stories, and I'm going to have a documentary out in April. But I want to read something that I wrote this morning, because it's hard for me to get away from my book. But I think this will tie in what I'm doing, and I think you'll get a better understanding of who I am and where I'm going. So is it okay if I read this?
Go for
it. This is in chapter 18, my prologue. I thought I was done with my book, and then I wrote a little bit more, and then I went to Colorado and I was like, okay, I wasn't really done. So this is I think it's chapter 18, whatever it's called. Buy the book, figure it out. 18 is also one of my lucky numbers, 8 and 18. This is the chapter, how it begins. Oh, dear one, I'm so excited to share that I have embarked on a new project while I was fact-checking chapter 1. exclamation point. I think it's the first one I use. I'm not a fan. There has to be something special if there's an exclamation point. After that fiasco with the epic elk photo of who I thought was my grandmother, I started to wonder what else I had gotten wrong. So after an epic fit, a literal tantrum, I had Tony cash in some of our frequent flyer miles and fly me back to Colorado. But this was a work trip, and this time going home didn't mean a trip to the dismal cow town that I had been raised in. In fact, the town I grew up in is such a social enigma to so many that my brilliant almost brother Joel Barr dubbed it Craig, Colorado, the place where dreams go to die. I was happy not to be going there. Nope, not this time, Craig. No reason I can see to head your direction. I dodged that silver bullet. This time, going home meant flying to Montrose, Colorado to spend over a week with the people that meant so much to me. In the ways that matter, this trip felt more like going home ever had before.
Okay.
Terry and Sharon were the iconic family to grow to me while I was growing up, and in some ways, they still are today. They are kind to one another. They raised 2 boys and 2 girls, and all of them are amazing humans, and most importantly, they always made me feel wanted, special, loved, accepted, and like I was one of them. So, I mean, it takes a village.
Yes,
Right?
it does. There's a lot
And
of things that happen in a person's life.
old, and I was like, I'm parented, and I inserted myself into this family that I love, and I was changed, and it was wonderful and beautiful, and I cried every day. And I mean, I've got this amazing documentary that I can share with the world on wisdom of working and drinking and smoking and wisdom of parenting, and it's just good stuff, Joy. I can't wait to share it with you.
I can't wait to see it. I hope to see it. Is it going to come out after, your book's going to come out in October, but what about the documentary?
I have a film festival that's happening in Panama City. This amazing man that I met years ago, he founded WeWa Films, and they're posting a film festival in April. And so I really want to be part of that collaborative because those are my people. So I'm going to go back on April 11th and launch it there. I don't know how many episodes
so
I'll
next
have
year.
together.
Next year.
Yeah, I think that's
good.
I
That's
think
enough
it's
time.
reasonable. Yeah, it's reasonable. So yeah, it's been fun. And I just, I'm just so blessed to have another storyteller in my family that I have not lost that wisdom. And he's got over 100 years in his brain that he just eloquently just gave to me. And it's such a gift. And I'm so it's such an honor to do that for my family and for everyone else that is now gone. And I hear my grandmother and grandfather, they're just saying, come on, girl, you got this. This is your job. You're the only journalist in the family and you got this. So it's been fun.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So last minutes of our chat, is there anything that you want to say, share? Oh, as a stumper.
Say or share.
Yeah, say anything, any last thing you want to say or share or ask.
Well, Joy, I think that you and I have a lot in common. I think that we've gone through a lot with our husbands, and I'm so sorry that you lost your husband to cancer. I'm so sorry that happened. And I want you to know that you have an army of women and men that support you and love you. And all you have to do is ask for help. All you have to do is send an email. And you got to stop saying you're fine in the halls. Like neighbors will come by, how you doing? I'm fine. Really? Are you fine? People really do care. And we need to get back into that. I know COVID kind of made us all like, oh, we got to stay with our own people. But we've got to get back into that. And I just want you to know that you can ask for help anytime you want to ask for help. And there will be people, a chorus of people ready to sing your praises.
Don't worry. I'll be asking you for help.
You better.
You better, you bet.
I'm going on a cruise. I don't know what you're doing next week.
No, not next week. But there'll be a day that they'll come knock and go, can we talk? Let's talk.
Yeah. Yeah, come on over. Florida's fine this time of year. No, it's hot, but it's fine.
Well, I thank you very much for sharing everything.
Thanks, Joy.
Sharing your heart, sharing your journey, sharing your story, and sharing your book that will be out soon. What's the name of the book?
Halloween, actually. You have arrived.
Okay.
And the documentary in April is called Hurry Back. That's what my grandmother used to say when we left. Never
Hurry
goodbye.
back?
Hurry back.
Cool. Well,
Thanks.
thanks so much, Shan.
Thanks, Joy. It's been wonderful.
Take care now.
All right. Bye.
Bye.